Good morning. Long time no see, Georgie.
Good morning.
I was just up there. We were just up there yesterday. He was beating on me in MMA wrestling practice or jujitsu practice. So anyway, it's a pleasure to have you here, Georgie. And for you guys that don't know, Georgie is a professional MMA fighter who fights in Bellator. Has a fight coming up, and he's been on a carnivore diet now for I think 6 months or so, and doing well with that. So, um, give us your background, Georgie. I know you got an interesting background. Born in Russia and professional soccer and so on and so forth. Tell us a little bit about your background and where you got to, how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, thank you again for having me, Sean. A little bit about me. I was born in Moscow, Russia. I moved to the States when I was 10, 11. Played professional soccer, and then slowly kind of transitioning to the mixed martial arts world. Started with Jiu-Jitsu. I was, just doing Jiu-Jitsu for about 6 months, and I got into fighting towards the end of 2006. And I've been fighting since then. So I've been fighting about 14 years now professionally. I had a belt at World Series of Fighting, 145 pounds. And then currently I'm fighting for Bellator MMA. And I'm fighting a lightweight. I switched the divisions because with fighting, we cut a lot of weight. And it's in the beginning of my career, I started at 155, and they told me I have to move to 145. So I started incorporating the vegetarian diet because everyone's like, oh, you got to turn vegetarian, just eat the greens, you're going to lose weight fast. And I did that. I did that for about 9 years, probably one of the worst decisions of my life. But yeah, I'm here right now. I've been a carnivore for 6 months. I feel amazing. Zero inflammation, zero pains, and I feel great.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Let me just go back to the beginning. So you're playing soccer and then you decided to do jujitsu. And so this is, what was that, 15, 16 years ago you started? I mean, you couldn't start professionally fighting till you had a little bit of a base underneath you, because I think you said you're 35. So jujitsu really, I mean, it's becoming very popular these days in the last, 5 years, certainly. But back then it was probably something, and I don't know how. Was it in Russia that you started learning jujitsu, or where were you? Where did you first do that? Were you already in the U.S., or where did you start learning jujitsu?
Yeah. And in Russia, I did the karate, but when I moved to the States, I did jujitsu. I started with this professor called Romel Dunbar. I started with him, and then I went with Eric Paulson. He's out of Orange County, and I was just trying it out. There was no thought in my head to become a professional fighter, nothing like that. I showed up there every day with the gi on. I was getting tapped a lot, which I did not like it. And 6 months later, the coach came up to me. He's like, hey, you want to fight a king of the cage? We have a fight for you. So I took the fight, and, I like that feeling, the adrenaline, and I stick with it. I stick with it. And now I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And like I said, I feel amazing. And I think this carnivore thing is going to give me extra 5-6 more years of fighting.
Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, it just seems it helps with recovery. How long did it take you to get your black belt, Georgie, from when you started?
It took me 4.5 years to get my black belt. I was competing a lot. I was a very ambitious athlete that I want to get promoted fast. So it took me 4.5 years.
Yeah, that's pretty fast. I hear typically the numbers like 10 years is what I typically see quoted for most people for black belts in jiu-jitsu and different sports. And now you also participated in some other sports. I know, I think sambo and you said karate. What other martial arts have you sort of trained in outside of, to develop the mixed martial arts game?
Yeah, I like you said, karate, sambo is another thing that I learned that from my dad, and kickboxing. I'm really big into kickboxing, especially Dutch style kickboxing. So it's weird with MMA. you have to be well-rounded at every single aspect. You can't just be good at jiu-jitsu, because there's so many arts, and it's not like boxing where you have to keep your hands up, move your head, throw punches. So it's the kicks are coming, the punches are coming, takedowns. So it's a very complicated sport that you got to be really good at every single aspect.
Yeah, the little I've experienced, I definitely can see, just with the jujitsu, there's a lot more thinking that goes into that. And one of the things, I just say, having known you now for a while, I mean, you're just a super nice guy. I mean, when I showed my kid, my little Ayo, this is Georgie fighting, he was scared. He's like, oh, he's scary. Is this scary? I'm like, he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And that's been my limited exposure to most of these high level fighters. They tend to be very just nice people, and I think you find that if you're kind of do you find that makes it more easy to succeed in the sport? I mean, there's people that people don't like, and they come across bad. I don't know if it's just a persona to hype up fights or something like that, but do you find that the sport kind of weeds out the asses, basically?
Yeah. In this sport, it's easy to get your ego so high that you're like, oh, you win one fight, and you could just tell. Fighters change, but I've been on both ends. I've been on the winning end. I've been on the losing end. So from losing, you learn a lot. You become humble. You treat the sport with the respect, and with me, I really don't play none of those games. I try to be me. I try to be very humble. I do all my talking inside the cage. So I keep all the talking, all that stuff for the cage. And I just train hard. I train really hard. And then like, that's why I like coming to your house and working out, because you train extra hard, and keeping up with you is tough. So I like that.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, and like I've mentioned, because I outweigh you by a good, gosh, 70, 75 pounds, something like that, George. And so the weights are different, but I mean, I can see why you've been a world champ, just with the explosiveness and the power you've got right now. And like I said, I don't know what you're like years ago when you're pursuing a plant-based diet, but certainly what I've seen, it looks pretty good, and hopefully it'll continue to keep you healthy and strong and fast. One of the things that I thought was, interesting is, so, there has been a kind of a big push. I know, like, I'm training at a place called Gracie Baja, which is a pretty well-known jiu-jitsu studio, as you know. And then, of course, I go up whenever I can to train with you guys. But they, kind of there's some people within the martial arts world that sort of promote these plant-based or more plant-heavy diets. You went through that. So, I mean, this is a great comparison, because I see people talking about, this guy, they'll use Nate Diaz as an example all the time. He's mostly plant-based. He'll eat some fish and stuff like that occasionally, but they'll say, well, look at this guy. And it's not that you can't be a good athlete and achieve a decent amount as a sort of an athlete that chooses to use plants as a main source of fuel. But I think there is ultimately a difference in that individual athlete, and it's nice to see that you have experience on both sides. And so just describe more. This is me on plants. This is me on meat. What's the difference with Georgi Karakhanyan? How do you feel different?
That's a great question. So going back, being a vegetarian, I'm not gonna lie, I had a lot of injuries, and the main one that stood out was when I tore my ACL, and that one was a big injury. And even recovering, I was still trying to incorporate the vegetarian diet with that, but my inflammation was it was really big. A lot of inflammation, a lot of pain. What else? A lot of I would sometimes get really stuck, just not being so sharp, not being focused. And I've been working with a lot of nutritionists. They're like, you know what, you got to do gluten-free. Let's do gluten-free, but still stick with vegetarian. So I did the gluten-free. There was a little difference. Yeah, the inflammation went down, but again, I was still not feeling at my optimal level. And I saw your video with Joe Rogan. I, of course, got the book. I started reading about it. and I started adding of the animal-based diet, and I felt a little difference, but I was still going back and forth with gluten-free, still adding my veggies. And the weird thing is every time I would have a juice, like a juice with all the veggies, I would instantly get a headache, like instant headache. And I would tell my wife, actually, she's right with me, so she always cooks for me. So every time she would make the juice or any veggies, I would get instant headaches. And lots of inflammation, lots of inflammation. The the pain was becoming worse. I was even thinking about fighting a few more years and I'll be done. So not my last fight, but the one before that, I was already doing a lot more animal-based stuff, but I was still wasn't fully a carnivore. So after that fight, I said, you know what, I'm gonna go full carnivore. And man, I mean, I don't know how to explain this, but I never felt this sharp. I literally feel like I'm 19 years old, zero pain in my joints, and my knee that I got surgery on, the ACL knee, doesn't bother me at all. Like, I mean, I train, I train, even when I come train with you the next day, I'm not sore. And before, I would have to take 2-3 days off to recover from that. But the sharpness is there, the focus is there, and I'm very alert. I'm very alert with my decisions, with my thinking. Even inside the cage, I'm way different than before. And even fight week, because fight week, it's all about cutting weight. And being on a carnivore diet, it hasn't been that like, it's so easy for me. Less stress on my body. I cut the weight so easy. The water weight comes out very easy. I don't have to eat blueberries or spinach, handful of stuff like that, because in the past that I work with the nutritionists, they're like, oh, you need a handful of spinach, handful of kale. And that was just disgusting. I didn't like doing that. I was feeling really bad. The taste of the kale is horrible. I don't know what I was doing eating that. The taste of the spinach, I mean, it was just bad. But now I show up fight week. I have my ground beef. I have my ribeyes. I have my steaks ready. And you taught me about sous vide, so I cannot wait to do that for 5 weeks. So it becomes easy on me, and yeah, I could get meat anywhere. And I try to tell my training partners, you know, get on this diet. This is the best diet. And they kind of think I'm crazy, but I mean, I try to help anyone. I mean, I see the difference. I came and worked out with you. I see the difference in you. Like, I mean, it's a proof, you know, there's nothing bad about this. I mean, I'm gonna stick with this. My kids are carnivore. My wife is carnivore. And I think we're all gonna stick with this for the rest of our lives.
Hey, George, so you mentioned your recent fight. So you had a fight back, was it November, December, your last fight? And I can't remember, but you won that one, and you were on a carnivore diet. How was that going leading up to the fight? I mean, the criticism is, you know, meat's great, it's fine for people, but you can't compete without lots of carbohydrates. How did you do? How did you feel? And what was your thoughts on leading up to the fight and actually performing actually what when you're in the middle of it? Because I can tell, you know, for people that haven't done it, when you're fighting, it's hard work. I mean, it's, you know, wrestling, fighting for, you know, trying to save, when you're fighting, you get, it's more than people just trying to, you know, gently choke you out. They're trying to break your head, you know, or something like that. So how did that go for you?
It went very, very well. So leading up to the fight, meat, you know, and I was eating a lot of meat. And fight week, it was very simple. Like, my coach was a little worried because I was making him eat a lot of meat. He was kind of concerned about it, but it was very easy. Like, I had no problem with the weight cut. I cut maybe 2 or 1 pounds the day of the weigh-ins. After I make weight, I mean, I have my electrolytes, and it's when I talk about electrolytes, I'm not talking about Gatorade or Pedialyte. I use like electrolyte powder or electrolyte tablets. I take those, and then I started my ground beef, and then maybe 2 hours later I had steak. I mean, it becomes easy for me because I don't have to think about buying other food because meat is there. I could buy meat from anywhere. And of course, I buy the grass-fed ones. And if there's not grass-fed ones, then I'll get whichever meat I could get hold of. But during the fight, like I said, my sharpness and alertness was really on top. And it wasn't like before where they would tell us, okay, let's make weight. We're going to eat the pasta. We're going to eat some pancakes, some potatoes. I feel like that just raises that insulin spike is so powerful right there. So it just, even the next day, there was a lot of times where I was not on a carnivore diet. The next day I would wake up just because I was eating all those foods. My face would be swelled up. My hands will be swollen. And back then, if you look like that, they're like, oh, okay, you recover from the weight cut. You're looking good. You're looking good. But now that I'm on a carnivore diet, now I feel what it feels like to feel good. And that's the only way I could explain. I mean, I feel amazing. The only bad part about it, your veins are coming out. Your veins are sticking out. So a lot of them think you're on steroids. You're on HGH, all the stuff. And I tell openly to Bellator, all the commissions, test me. You could test me all you want. And they actually start testing me, which I have zero problem. But that's the only downside, that they think you're on thing. But I feel amazing. Like, I mean, my muscles are coming out like I've been doing bench presses for 24 hours. I'm not even doing nothing. I mean, I look amazing. So, I mean, I feel good. So, yeah.
So during the fight, I mean, did you notice like, you know, and I guess it depends on different strategy. You know, some of it's just wearing your opponent down, you know, trying to, you know, partition out your energy so you're not gassing too much. Did you have any problems with energy management or strength, or did you feel powerful, or relative to what you felt like before? Was there a noticeable difference in the ring with you?
Yeah. The energy was really high. And then with me, I didn't know when to push the gas pedal because I'm really, I go in there, I try to figure out my opponent, I break him down. And then once I see him a little bit slow down, that's when I push the gas pedal. But in a third round, after the second round, my coach is like, you know what, this third round, I want you to pick it up. And I don't know how to explain this, but it's just like creating that the feeling of it's like the second breath. So in the third round, I had to like create this little burst, and just I start pushing him so hard. And I remember me not being tired, and I was just like thinking in my brain, I'm like, wow, I'm not even getting tired. This is the third round, and I was just pushing a pace. I was doing lots of wrestling with the guy. And my opponent was a good wrestler, so I out wrestled him in the third round and end up winning the whole fight by decision. So the alertness is there, the focus is there, the sharpness is there. Like, I mean, my energy is there, and I'm so much powerful because most of these 55ers come into fight week at 190, 185. I come in 166, 165, and I only cut 10 pounds. So I may look smaller than them, but when we hold on or when we clinch, they can feel my strength.
What about with your training partners now? I mean, like I said, I've only, you know, obviously I've just seen you in your teaching, and obviously you're just kind of teaching. It's kind of relaxed pace, and, you know, obviously you're just kind of showing techniques and not going hard. But when you go hard, and I assume you do that with your training partners, how is that going? And do you find that you're able to go at a higher intensity more frequently, or what's been the benefit in training? I mean, obviously there's got to be a goal for training, and you don't want to, you know, I mean, there's certainly, I'm sure there's ways you periodize your training to say, this week I'm going to work on this. I need to ramp this up. I need to get better and better. But how's your training going?
Yeah, the training is going great. I mean, all my training partners are, they tell me I got stronger. As far as, because our training sessions are 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I mean, I have zero problem going 2.5 hours. I probably could go another 2 hours, no problem. And the main thing is I realize is the recovery. I honestly don't wake up with nothing sore. Like, and it's crazy to say this because I've had lots of injuries, lots of surgeries, and like I said, they were bothering me a lot. But soon as I switched to this carnivore diet, it just, and I don't even call it diet. I think it's a life. It is a lifestyle, carnivore lifestyle. So I have zero problem with the training sessions. I come home, I play with my kids, I'm there with them, and then I go teach, and then after teaching, I might train again. So I mean, as a fighter, I always look for that 1% edge. How can I get better? How can I get better? And I feel like the carnivore lifestyle put me right there. And then from here on, then it's in my hands to win my next fights for next 5 years, and just keep pushing hard. Just keep training. And I am encouraging all my family members. I'm encouraging all my training partners to try out this diet for 30 days, 90 days, and they see themselves. So I tell everyone, even all the kids in my schools, I tell them. Even my wife tells me not to tell them, but I like to let them know that this is the way we should all eat, and cutting all the seeds, oils, and all that stuff out of your diet, and just sticking to the meat.
Well, you said like a 2.5 hour training session. I mean, what does that look like for you typically? I mean, so some warm up, and then is there drills, and then live sparring? How does that break down for 2.5? Because what I do is I go to a class. It's an hour-long class. It's 7 minutes of warm ups. Three techniques we do, and then we roll around for 10 minutes or so, and then we cool down. So it's not as long as you, but I can tell you, I'm what I find is my fingers are sore, like my skin's torn up. I mean, these things are different, but it's not the same. The muscles are pretty good. I mean, then like I said, my fingers, I rip a fingernail off, with the gi, because, it's just like, I got to really cut my fingernails super short or something. That stuff is just annoying, but it's not like, when I used to play high level rugby, I remember I get back and I felt like I was in a car wreck. I mean, I was just like, everything was beat up on me. And honestly, I mean, cause I wrestled with you put me with two guys that was my size or bigger yesterday, and we rolled around, and, it was kind of like, and I felt like I went through a workout, but I'm already recovering. I had 7 steaks for breakfast this morning, and so I'm ready, because I got to go back to jujitsu in about 2 hours. 2 hours, I'm back on there yet. But I mean, so tell me about what does the workout look like for you, and then I want to get into your diet more specifically. So to walk me through a typical day of training for Georgie.
Yeah, typical day for me. I'll wake up in the morning. I'll do my breathing workouts. I'll do my cold exposure. I'm really big on cold exposure. And then I'll show up at the gym. I'll get there 20 minutes early. I'll warm all my muscles. I'll do my static stretches. And then we'll slowly start warming up. So it could be with the partner. We're just moving around maybe 50%, just to start getting in the groove of breaking a sweat, getting your heart rate really high. And then if we're having a sparring day, we'll put our shin guards on, we'll put our gloves on, we'll start sparring. We'll do about 10 5-minute rounds. And then after sparring, we take off our shin guards and we'll do wall drills. Wall drills is when someone gets against the wall and we do takedowns. So we do that for another hour or maybe 45 minutes. And then, once we do that, training is done, then I'll cool down with the stretches, same way I started with. So I'll cool down with the stretch. I will take down some notes of all my training, what I went over, what I did, how I threw things. So like I have a date, May 21st, I have an opponent. And for the next 10 weeks, I just do the same combos, same exact things, because I want to build a muscle memory. So when I'm in there, I'm doing the same exact thing. Now, you could be working on one certain thing for 10 weeks and you go in there, it doesn't work. And that's why I like this carnivore thing. I think before, when I would go in there and I had to use specific move and it's not working, I would be like, okay, I don't know what to do. But I think with this, I know for a fact with the carnivore lifestyle, even if I go in there working on certain things for 10 weeks and it's not working, I'm gonna change it to another thing. So it's not gonna be a problem in my mind. And for the last 2-3 years, it was becoming like a little mind thing. Like I was just getting stuck there. But I know for a fact, but even in the training, I do certain things, it doesn't work out, then I'll go to plan B. The plan B doesn't work out, I'll go to plan C. So it's easy to adjust. So yeah, that's my basic training days.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and one of the things I'm slowly learning here is that with just within the realm of jujitsu, um, a lot of it is just being able to focus and be calm and not just get excited and just say, look, I'm in this situation. How do I get out of this? What can I do? Or I saw something like I read a quote about something like if you think you're late, you're already too late. If you're too late, you have to use strength. If you have to use strength, you get tired. If you get tired, you're dead. And so it's one of those things where your mind is such an I mean, the mind is probably the most important part of martial arts, quite honestly. I mean, the physical part is it's part of the display of what your mind is doing and thinking, because when you're going against these opponents, it's literally a chess. It's something called human chess, where he does this, I do that, and what happens if this happens, and the possibilities are literally infinite. But you just have to be either faster mentally than your opponent, and then also hopefully physically that translates into physical speed to where you can outthink and outmaneuver your opponents. When you're training, like you said, when you're training, is there a period of time is it just I'm going to do MMA today, or do you say I'm going to work on jiu-jitsu, I'm going to work on striking, I'm going to work on these things with the opponents? Does it break down, or is it just MMA every day?
It is a breakdown. I go like for my jiu-jitsu days, I'll go with I'll go to my friend's school. He has a school named Peerless Jiu-Jitsu, and he's a very, very good black belt. So when I go to jiu-jitsu schools or wrestling schools, I go with fighters that are better than me. So the reason why I go with my friend, he's bigger than me. He's a very good black belt, and he pushes me. So I go in there, and he pushes me really hard. And with me, when I'm in the camps, you have certain fighters that they want everything to go perfect. Oh, they have to look good. Oh, they have to do great with a certain fighter. But I go in there, I like to get beat up. I like when they push me. I like to train hard. And when I go with them, it's like a fight. So even though we're doing jiu-jitsu or wrestling, and if you see us both training with each other, it's like a fight. So we're just like fighting. And yeah, like we have certain days where it'll be all MMA. So you could use everything: wrestling, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing. And there'll be certain days where it's just straight kickboxing, which is hands, kicks. And then certain days it's straight wrestling. So and it's important to use them all together. But as I get closer to my fight, like 6 weeks, 5 weeks, then it's fully MMA. And then I'll just break down little things like jiu-jitsu, wrestling. But when I'm getting close to the fight, it's all fully MMA.
Let me ask you, and this is this is a controversial topic, and a lot of people, I know I listen to like guys like Jocko Willink, who says, one martial art, do jujitsu. I mean, what are your thoughts on, like, just for the general purpose person? Now, I have no intention in getting in a street fight. I mean, I'm an old guy. I don't go out and hang out in bars. I'm not in places where I'm likely to, but you never know. I mean, something could happen, but I mean, I'm it's not like when I was in college and I was hanging out in bars and, there's more likely to be fights. I'm just not around those people. But for the average person that wanted to learn a self-defense skill, what would you recommend?
Oh, definitely Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu helps with the self-defense, helps with the confidence. That's the reason why I have my 2 daughters doing Jiu-Jitsu, because it teaches you a lot. Nothing against karate, taekwondo, stuff like that, but jiu-jitsu is the one thing you should learn, because jiu-jitsu is a sport where size doesn't matter. If you know the technique, size never matters. Smaller could go with the bigger, and if the smaller person has a good technique, guess what? It's gonna beat the bigger person, even though bigger person might be stronger. So I would stick with jiu-jitsu. It teaches you a lot of stuff: discipline, respect, hard work, and and I would recommend them starting with the gi, because that's a traditional jiu-jitsu way of starting with the gi. A lot of this new generation jiu-jitsu competitors, they're trying to promote the nogi, which is okay. It's all right, but you want to start with the gi. There's a lot of collar chokes you could use with the gi, where if I'm wearing this sweater, you could grab it and choke me out with it. So there's a lot of beneficial things you could use. And, I think everyone should do it, especially everyone in a law enforcement. They should have that as a mandatory for all the law enforcement agents to get their blue belts. So, yeah, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the best.
Yeah, one of the things I've seen is, you can, I mean, particularly with the chokes, I mean, you can submit somebody, get out of danger without actually permanently hurting the person. I mean, you can put them to sleep in, 10 seconds if you get the carotid arteries, and they go out and you're safe and no danger, and no one is hurt. Whereas if you're striking, people's face get all bloodied up, there's blood everywhere, people often have lasting damage. And so that's one of the thoughts that people say, well, look, jujitsu is safer. It's actually a safer way. And being choked, is, while you don't want that to happen, you're not generally going to be permanently injured from that. Now, one of the things that you mentioned about the small, because I think the first night I came up there, I think it was the second time I was up there, I went there at night, and we went through a series, and I actually was wrestling with a couple of females that were, obviously I'm a lot bigger than them. There was one girl, I think she was about 150, and she was a high level, like Olympic level wrestler. And I remember I had her in guard, and I was holding her and holding her and holding her. And she was, I'm a lot more powerful than her, but she eventually wiggled her way out. And the second she got out, I mean, she was so fast, she had my arm, and she could have broken my arm. I mean, she's very quick. And that just shows you the power of that technique. Now, maybe in 6 months that won't happen.
No.
I'll have enough skill to know what to do and what not to do. But it's been kind of fun with that. Let's talk about, so what does your diet look like, George? You said carnivore diet. Now, people always ask, what are you eating? What's on your diet? What does the diet look like for you on a typical week, typically?
Typically it's ground beef, steaks.
You have steaks right now.
I have actually steaks right now, sous vide. So I cannot wait to eat. I'm very hungry.
Sometimes you'll smell pork, like
Uh,
at the Traeger.
Come on, let me have. No, come this side. So I have my. So she could explain more. So this is.
I just make his meals, but it's very simple. It's mostly steaks, ground beef, some bacon, pork, eggs. But he started not liking eggs that much.
Yep.
So we cut back on eggs. So only if he asks me for eggs, he eats eggs. Not really chicken. So basically it's beef is mainly what he eats. And but ground beef is basically mostly what he really likes. He can eat that with everything.
Yeah. And let me ask you, since Georgie has switched over, have you noticed a difference in him? Just in any way, can you say there's been a difference in the way is he a better husband, a nicer guy? I don't know. I mean, what have you noticed any differences since he's changed?
Yes. So before, when he was vegetarian, so he has always been crazy about training, even when he played soccer, because he played soccer when he was little. So in Russia, they have a strong work ethic, like you have to play. There's no way you don't, right? So he brought that with him. So he has to train. And when he was vegetarian, he did have a lot of inflammation. So because of that, he was always sore. So he couldn't train as much. So he was kind of not always pleasant on days he couldn't train, if that makes sense. So now, because he has no more inflammation, basically he can train as much as he wants and he's fine. Like before, he would have to have days off, like maybe 2 or 3 days off. Right now, if he has one good day off, he's fine. He could just do as much, as much. And this is just on eating, simple meat, it's just so much simpler.
And what convinced you to go ahead and try this diet? I mean, did you just see him and say, "Hey, I want to try that too"? And are you doing martial arts as well? I can't remember. I think Georgie said, I can't remember.
I've only had a few lessons. Like he gives me lessons, but I don't have time with the kids because I have them all the time. We don't really have a babysitter, so I don't have time. But I do see him, like he just is. He's so much stronger, and like even his muscles, they're just defined without, like he doesn't even have to flex. They're just there. now. You know, you could just see it, and I can see it in his mental clarity is much better than it was before, you know. And also I feel like the freedom of being able to just eat meat is simpler on him. Like, you know what, I just have to eat steak and ground beef and stuff. It's easier. He doesn't have to think of all the things he has to eat, you know. Oh, I have to eat this much spinach and this much you know, potatoes before I go to my fight or whatever, you know, because they tell you need the carbs, but it's really, you know, it's just not true. And it's simpler. It's a weight lifted off his shoulders as well. And I can see that. And I just love the carnivore as well. It's easier for me. I'm busy. I don't have time to make elaborate meals. I just have what I need. And I noticed even in my baby, because, you know, I still nurse him, and I notice how well he's doing. You know, he's doing great. He's smart. He's busy moving, and it's just from being carnivore. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and because you guys have 2 daughters and 1 little boy, as I recall, and they all have GJ names. I can't remember what their names are. What are the names, Georgie? Julian or something like that? I can't remember.
Juliana, and Georgie.
Okay, very nice, and they're beautiful kids, by the way. You guys definitely combine genetics to make some pretty little kids. Let me ask you. So just further on the diet. How much are you eating as a hunter? Because you said you're around 168, 170. How much are you eating? And obviously you're training a lot. How much do you eat on a daily basis? How frequently do you eat? Is it 1 meal, 2 meal, 3 meal? What kind of deal do you have there?
So yeah, I'll have days, Sean, where I have 2 meals, and then there's certain days where if my like, let's say I go train on sometimes I'll train on empty stomach, and then I'll come home. I'll have a big meal like around 2 or 3 o'clock before I go teach, and then that will be perfect for me till the next day. So I have certain days where it's I eat twice a day, and I have some days where I eat once a day. But then I also learned it from you where 4 days lean, and then 2 days you told me to eat fat, right, to gain weight. So I do that, incorporate that also. But right now my weight is so perfect. I'm enjoying all the steak. So I haven't cut down on the steak. So I'm just eating pretty good.
Now you recently opened, the OG Original Grappler Training Center, which you teach, Jiu-Jitsu, and I guess some other things there. I've been there for the Jiu-Jitsu. How long have you been interested in teaching, and when did you start teaching this as opposed to just being an athlete and competing?
Yeah, so I was teaching when I was a purple belt. I had a big kids class. I was teaching for a small school here in Riverside called USKO. I was teaching there from 2008 to 2010, and just focused on the kids program. And when I became a black belt, it was always in my head to open up a gym and to pass on all the knowledge that I know to all these young kids or anyone that's willing to learn. So I was going to start it up 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, but before this whole COVID thing hit up, and that kind of slowed down. And, as soon as I had the opportunity, as soon as I found this building, I opened up right away. And again, this has to do again with the carnivore lifestyle, because I feel like if I was eating all the carbs, it would take another 2-3 years to open up the gym. So soon as I did the change to carnivore, it was right there. My brain was like, hey, I thought you were going to open up a gym. Let's go. So I jumped into it. I opened up the gym. So I'm happy. I'm teaching. It keeps me sharp, because there's a saying in Jiu-Jitsu, if you can't teach it, you don't know the move. So it always keeps me sharp. I love to teach the kids, the adults class. So it keeps me sharp in my mind with my technique, and it makes me a better competitor, better fighter, and better human.
Yeah, that's a good point about teaching something reinforces your own knowledge. Because, when I was one of the things we used to talk about when we were training to be surgeon, it was, it would be watch one, do one, teach one. Basically you'd watch an operation, you do an operation, then you'd be able to teach the operation. And that's the mentality. Now, of course, that's maybe a little bit compressed. You might have to do 50 before you start teaching, but you got to learn, do, and teach. And I, just with the jiu-jitsu, because I have my little boy, and we're, I'm trying to teach my family things I know. I don't know much. So I'm like, here, I mean, you're in my guard. This is how you get out. And I'm trying to go through my mind. What do I need to know? So how can I teach it? And I think that's, very good. Obviously, it gets more and more complex. And once you get these concepts down, then you can kind of just keep basic concepts in mind in most situations to where, why you're doing something. And I think that makes a lot of sense. As far as, let's just say when you're in a ring and who your next fight's going to be. It's this guy, was his Picoletti or something like that. I can't remember the name. Adam Piccolotti or something like that. So, what his game is. Do you try to, how do you I know professional boxers, they'll often try to get guys that kind of simulate their next opponent. Is that something that you're able to do, or how do you prepare for each individual you're going up against?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, my coach will bring in guys that kind of fight like Adam or my opponent, and we'll just go off from there. So we have guys in the gym that watch tape on the opponent, or me and my coach will sit down and watch a tape and watch what he does, and then have few of the fighters that could kind of fight like him, and we'll just go from there. But I try not to depend too much on the way he's going to fight me. My main concern is to sharpen up all my tools and just go out there and just do my thing, because in the past, when I focused on my opponent too much, it seemed like I was just going based off that. But I know what he does good. I know what he doesn't do good. I know what I do good. I know what I don't do good. So those are the things I look at. But during the whole camp, I just focus on myself, so I could be in a better shape. I focus on doing a lot of breathing, focus on a lot of technical stuff, and just trying to be sharp with everything I do. And like I said, I keep a journal. I write down everything, how I train, how I feel, and those are the little things that I pay attention on.
When is there ever a point and you've had, you've been fighting for, you said professionally, for something like 14 years. Is there ever a point in a match where you I've got this guy? I mean, is there a point where you say, I can tell he's done, or he's too tired, or he's giving me too much of this? Is there ever a point where you say, I know I'm going to beat this guy at a certain point? I know at the beginning, going into the fight, you have to think you can win. I mean, you just have to have the confidence to say, I can beat this person. Otherwise, you might as well not even fight. But is there ever a physical moment in the fight where I know this guy's done? Do you ever get it? I know it's dangerous and anything can happen and there's always a lucky break, but do you ever get to a point where this guy's gassing, or how do you know when the fight's, when it's going your way?
Yeah. So usually the day of the weigh-ins, when we weigh in and look at each other, we face off. That's a very good one where I could read energy. I look at their eyes. And some guys are good at hiding them. Some guys, they have the poker face and stuff like that. But inside a cage, yes, there are certain things that I look for. I look for their breathing. Like if they start breathing a lot with their mouth, like if their mouth is open, I already know I have them in my pocket. If I see they're breathing with their chest, I could tell they're already getting tired. And I was talking about earlier about the gas pedal. That's when I go all out. So when I see those little things, I push the pace. And even when you hold on to them, even when we're on the ground grappling or we're holding on to each other, my main focus is how they're breathing. And once I catch them breathing really heavy where I could hear them, I already know they're getting tired. And then right now, since we have no fans, it's easy to mess with the opponent, because my last fight, I was so sharp in there where I could hear my corner, but I could also hear their corner. So every time their corner would say something, I would do it to my opponent. Every time the corner would say something to do it to me, I would do it to him before he even had the opportunity to do it on me. So those little things break the opponent. And like you said, with the fighting, it's so much mental game. And we could all train hard, we could all look good, we could all make weight, but the day of the fight, we have this saying, when the lights turn on, you have to be home. And then you have some fighters that lights turn on, they're not home, meaning they don't perform well under bright lights. So yeah, there's a lot of little things I look for, but mainly is the breathing. And you know, sometimes you could hurt them. They'll act like they're not hurt, but they're really hurt. So this comes with experience. And I think being a fighter for 14 years, I catch on to those things really quick.
What Travis is, well, actually, we got a couple Travises in here talking about one, your favorite type of way to win. I know with submissions, I think you like doing guillotine chokes. Is that your favorite thing to do? Or, I mean, what do you, is that what you're especially known for? And how do you get to that? Explain what that is, perhaps, for people that don't know, or what is your favorite thing to do?
My favorite thing is I love submissions, because submissions, you have to work for them. Of course, guillotine is my favorite one, because that's the first submission I learned when I started jiu-jitsu. And I think the squeeze is getting tighter and better with the carnivore. So yeah, I like to get hold of the head and just squeeze it. But people and organizations and CEOs of the organizations, they love to see knockouts. So you know, before the fights, they give us a speech like, hey, when you go out there, leave it all out there, try to get a knockout. And I know all the fans like to see knockout too, but yeah, I like to be intelligent, and I'm planning to fight for next 5 years. I have no problem getting into the wars with the fist, but again, this is a chess match for me. And yeah, the best submission is, I like the guillotines, submissions, but if the knockout is there, I'll take the knockout.
Yeah, somebody's mentioning a blind judo champ, and I know we played yesterday. You had me close my eyes, and we were doing drills. We're just feeling the opponent where they're at in space, and being able to react without using your vision. I thought that was a really instructive drill as to just kind of, particularly when it comes to balance and you know, in position sense, which I think, you know, obviously sometimes you can't see what's going on. You just have to be able to feel it and be aware of that. And I think that was really,
Oh, it's working on the muscle memory.
yeah, really interesting thing. What, so your fight, so tell us about when is your next fight? How do people go to see it? I mean, can we see it somewhere, or where's that going to be?
Yeah, so my next fight will take place May 21st. It will be in Connecticut at the Mohegan Sun Casino, and it will be live on Showtime. So it'll be televised on Showtime. And I'm hearing that me and him are going to be like the co-main event. So that's what my manager told me. So it should be good. I don't know what channel is the Showtime on, but Bellator used to be on Paramount. They used to own by Viacom, but right now they got bought out by Showtime. So yeah, it will be on Showtime.
And, you know, like I said, we're gonna assume you win this, Georgie, and you know, we're all gonna be pulling for you. But I mean, are you looking to get back to taking the title? I mean, I know you're one of the contenders in that rotation. Obviously, at 35, you're a senior member of the thing, and so. But I mean, if you physically start feeling like you're in your 20s again, there's no reason you could not be in contention for the title again and go back there. Is that in your mind what you're thinking as well?
Absolutely. That's get the title, hold on to it for a long time. Getting the title is not going to be that hard, but when you hold on to a title and defend it, that's the hardest part in this sport. And I was going to fight for a belt in Bellator back in 2015, but unfortunately I got really badly injured, so I couldn't do it. And yeah, I'm looking forward getting that belt. Most of the division fighters, they probably think I'm done fighting, but that's a good thing for me, because I go in there and I wake them up. So you know, that is my goal. Like I said, I've had titles before, and this shouldn't be any problem. And like I said, with this carnivore lifestyle, they better all watch out.
Yeah, that's and it's interesting because I mean, do you feel like, I mean, I know this is a silly question. Do you feel like you're tougher? I mean, like I said, do you feel like you're harder to kill, so to speak, or I mean, just based on diet? I mean, less injury prone, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. Like um, I don't know if it was the carb overload where you just feel like you got to show someone you're stronger. I already know how strong I am, so I'm just like, all right, I I have no problem. Like in the gym, I go with the guys that are 170 pounders, so they're walking around 190. So in the gym, there's no problem going with the bigger guys. And yeah, like I said, I feel amazing. And I actually want to tell all your listeners that your jiu-jitsu, like I don't know if they're probably seen it that you're doing a lot of jiu-jitsu, but I said this and I'll say it again. Within 4 to 3 months, you will become a world. Like if you go compete at the worlds, you will win the worlds. And you becoming a black belt within 3 4 years is not a problem. I see that happening easy.
Well, I mean, I'm going to give it my best. Like I said, that's just the thing is just a matter of time, and then hopefully you don't get injured and those types of things. But like I said, I'm like I for 54, soon to be 55. I feel pretty, I haven't wrestled with anybody my age yet. It's always been young guys that are 25, 30, and either, much higher skill level than I am. So it's been interesting and I like it. I actually like going with the higher belts just because I think one, I'm less likely to be injured because they know what they're doing. And two, they pressure me and it's a lot of fun. So it's been a lot of fun. And I certainly appreciate, going up to see you guys and doing that stuff. But yeah, I'm having fun. I mean, I tell you, it's kind of, I've been, my competitive outlet has been kind of in the last few years. I mean, I really haven't had a good competitive. I mean, I've done some rowing world championships and stuff like that, but it's just like, it's just you kind of, it never goes away. I can tell you, even if you retire at MMA, that competitiveness will stay there because you just have it. Some people have it, some people don't, and you'll find some other sport. Hopefully, it won't be golf because I think it's not even a sport. I mean, I think it's a. Would you? I mean, let me talk about women real quick because we have a lot of women in here, and I am, I think this is great for women to know this as well. I mean, because obviously, by and large, most women are smaller than many of the people. By and large, most men. I mean, it's just a fact of life that women are tend to be less physically strong than men are. And from a self defense standpoint, um, what are your thoughts on women taking this up? Is this something women shouldn't do, or is it? I mean, because when I go to the jiu-jitsu classes, there are some women in there, but they're not the majority. But hopefully that's changing. Would you recommend this for women?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you have any jiu-jitsu schools around your house, you should right away try to sign up there. Try to go there. Uh, like I said, it'll teach you so much that you could use it for self-defense on the street, and it builds overall confidence because you get stuck in certain positions where you got to control your breathing, you got to figure it out, you got to use your brain and try to escape the position. And it helps them so much. And women doing jujitsu, it's a very good for them. Like you were mentioning, the girl you'll roll with, Jackie, you could tell she's a little tiny and how she could escape and she could do little things. So I encourage every single woman to try jujitsu because it's so good for you. And especially if you're on a carnivore lifestyle, you should try jujitsu because you will pick it up faster because you don't have none of that junk carbohydrates inside you. You will learn fast. You will pick it up fast. You won't get tired as much, and it's fun. It's you're learning the self-defense. And I feel like where the world is right now, we all need to learn the self-defense, especially women.
Yeah, like I said, I said I don't foresee getting into street fights, but like I said, there are some crazy things going on, and I know that you never know what's going to happen down the road. But I just find it to be a fun outlet, and I think um, you get a couple mats to throw down in your house. You can do it with your family. I mean, it's a family. It really is a family sport. I mean, and I think it's just I'm just having fun. It's just kind of like it's just because there's so many. You can see where it's a never ending journey of improvement and improvement and improvement. Let me ask you a question, the gi. I'm just like, where, I mean, the nogi makes more sense from a sort of street fighting standpoint, because not everybody's walking around in a gi. You might catch somebody with a jacket on or something like that, or a hoodie. But um, where did the gi come from, and why did they start with gis? I mean, it just doesn't. I mean, was it? I guess it goes back to traditional, Eastern combat sports where they wore that. But who was walking around with a gi normally, and why did they decide to fight in that thing?
That's a good question. It all came from it all started with from Japan. That's where the gi thing came from. I mean, a lot of different martial arts styles: taekwondo, judo, karate. They all wear gis. So it all started from there. I might not be correct on certain years where it came from, stuff like that, but I know it started from Japan, started with the gi. And also judo, they use a lot of gi with the judo. It's a lot of grabbing color, holding on, and doing a lot of throws. So it kind of incorporated into Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So that's why the old school Brazilian jiu-jitsu, the old school style, is all with the gi. And they usually call it kimono, the gi. So that's where it came from. But again, like this new style, when I say the new style, it's the John Donahers and all those them. They're amazingly good. Like, I respect all those guys, but they're also, him and Eddie Bravo, they're always advertising the nogi, which is normal. There's no problem. But again, if you want to learn the traditional Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you want to put on your gi.
I mean, and I've heard that advice many times. I think it probably makes sense to learn them both. But if you learn, like you said, you slow the game down, you make it more tactical with the gi on. You learn the basics, the fundamentals, and then you can advance to some of the other stuff. And I think that maybe makes sense from a progression standpoint. I mean, as a white belt, I'm told my job is to learn how to survive. Just survive, get good at defense so you don't get submitted. And then as you get into blue belt, you start to learn more of the attacking game. And then purple belt, you start to refine your particular game. Like, I like this, I'm good at this. I don't have any weaknesses, but I will certainly have strengths, and there'll be leverages and strengths and, different things that are more natural to you. Is that pretty fair to say that? So survive the first period of time.
Of course, as a white belt, this is what I tell all the students in my gym. I'm like, as a white belt, make as many mistakes as you can. Don't be scared of the failure. Just go like attack. If you're gonna get submitted every 10 seconds, it's all right. That's how you learn. But guess what? After you get submitted 10 times, I hope that 11th time you learn how to defend the submission. So these little things are very important. And as a white belt, like you were saying, when you just mentioned you're going with the higher belts, you have less chance of getting injured. And it's exactly like that. When I have two of my white belts go together, I have to kind of be in the middle because I don't want them to injure themselves. So as a white belt, make as many mistakes. As a blue belt, you're going to already start catching on to those mistakes and start submitting your opponent. And as a purple belt, like you say, you develop your own style. If you're all into triangles or guillotines, that's your style. And, brown belt, you become brown belt, you start observing everything. And then once you turn into black belt, to me, it's like everything starts all over again. I have to break down everything, come back. So, just a good way of moving up in martial arts, especially in jiu-jitsu, because you have all those white belt, survivals, blue belt, purple belt, and it goes brown and black.
Yeah, and I think it's. I'll be honest. I have a lot of fun, having people trying to choke you and just trying to, figuring out how to save yourself. And I think that's just a fun. Some people may think that's odd, but it's actually more fun than you think it is. I mean, and knowing. I mean, the nice thing is in the situation is you're not going to get seriously hurt, or it's very unlikely that you're going to get seriously hurt, particularly in jiu-jitsu. I mean, obviously anything can happen. You can fall off your bike and break your collarbone. So, I mean, there's things that are inherently, life has danger to it. But I mean, it's just one of those things where that's what I've seen, in jiu-jitsu, you can go pretty hard. I mean, you can go all out and survive that and not come away with injuries. But if you go straight, you can't really strike hard. I mean, if you sparred striking hard every time, every day, particularly early on, it's going to not go well for you, I think, because you could always get knocked out. You could always get your face bloodied open, or something. Or even with jiu-jitsu, judo, where there's a big, huge monster throws. Um, so I think again, from a martial arts standpoint, for people that are thinking about jiu-jitsu, seems to make sense in the guard. You can go pretty hard and still get the benefit of that without really getting hurt.
Going into striking, this is another way I try to talk to pro fighters about the carnivore lifestyle. I'm like, listen, we take punches. You take punches to the head, and just even the little punches, they still make a damage in your brain. And I'm telling them, like, with this carnivore lifestyle, I feel like back maybe 2-3 years ago, I was kind of feeling little symptoms of just like just of all the hits accumulating. But as soon as I did the switch, like, I mean, I feel like I'm in my 20s and I just start doing jiu-jitsu. That's just how I feel. And it's so important that to pass on this to all the fighters, because they're so stuck into thinking about the carbohydrates, eat the carbs. Oh, I have to eat 6 times a day. It's so bad. Like, that's why I get into them. I find little subjects to help them out and talk about it, because I'm like, listen, I was there, but look at me. I'm not here right now. I'm sharp. And the only thing, like I said, it bothers me in the gym when they come up to me after practice and they're like, what are you on? And that's the only thing that bothers me. Or there's another good one. They're like, life is too short. You need to live a life, drink some beer, have some pizza. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like this, like I life is too short. I'm trying to live my best life. That's why this is the way to eat, So those are the little things that bother me about people, but they'll learn one way or another.
Georgi, well, thank you, Georgi. Let me just, and I was up at Original Grappler yesterday up in Riverside, and you've got some MeetRx logos on your thing. You're one of our MeetRx coaches now, so is your wife.
Yep.
Tell us where can people go to find you, follow you, I know you've got some social media. Tell us a little bit about the OG Original Grappler program and the facility, how people have wanted to learn from you could go there, and then again, where to follow you on social media.
Yeah, the Gym Original Grappler Training Center is located in Riverside by the plaza. The address is 6613 Magnolia Avenue. If you guys are on there, even any MeetRx coaches, always welcome to come in. We'll work, we'll train hard. And then, if any of you want to get hold of me on social media, it's on Instagram at Georgi MMA and also on Twitter at Georgi MMA.
Yeah, and Georgi is Georgi and then MMA. Yeah, because when I first saw that, I wasn't sure what the I was, because his name. Oh, one more topic, and I know this is something you care about quite a bit. Your background is, even though you're born in Russia, you were Armenian by I guess family history, and there's been some sort of really bad stuff going on in Armenia. Do you want to touch on that and just kind of, I know it's something you felt strong about. And so what's going on in Armenia, and what do you want people to know about that?
Yeah, there's the ongoing war going on with the Azerbaijan, because they're trying to take over this land called Artsakh. And the war has been going on for many years now. And I don't know if it was the coronavirus or they got bored. They had nothing to do. So they went back in there and they pretty much started killing all the Armenian kids and innocent people and just kick them out of there. So it was a big political thing that happened. And it sucks for the Armenian people. I try to help them out a lot. We had that little Armenia Hall of Fame sport thing going on where all the Armenian athletes help out and donate. So I try to help them out as much as I can. And it's suck in the beginning, but right now I guess everything's good.
right, Georgie. Well, good luck with you on the next fight. I'm sure I'm going to see you plenty times before then. Keep up the good work. Thanks for doing what you do and being an athlete that's paving the way for, I think, hopefully many more athletes, particularly with the success I'm sure you're to have. So anyway, thanks
No, I
again.
wanna
And
thank you
what's that?
for. I want to thank you for writing a book. I want to thank you for all the information you give me all the time, and it's like you motivate me a lot. So I'm here because of you, and I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, it's been my pleasure, Georgie. I'm glad some people are taking inspiration. I have fun. I mean, like I said, I've always liked training, and so this is another one where we're having a lot of fun. Thanks for encouraging me to do this. By the way, like I said, I don't know that I would have pulled the trigger on trying the jiu-jitsu had I not run into you. And now I'm already, I'm getting obsessed with it. Reading books, watching videos, thinking about it all the time. Just kind of, that type of thing. And that's what it takes, is I mean, to get good at anything, you have to be obsessed about it. So. All right, guys, take care, and we'll see everybody tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye now.